All right, so The Phantom of the Open is a 2022, I guess you could categorize it as an indie film. It is directed by, let me see here, Craig Roberts. The screenplay is by Simon Farnaby, and it is based on the book The Phantom of the Open by Scott Murray. And this is based on a true story about a guy named Maurice Flitcroft, played here by, what's his name, Mark Rylance, which I don't know for sure if I've seen him in anything or not, but I know he was nominated, and I'm pretty sure he won an award, an Oscar, for Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks. I guess, oh yeah, he was in The Trial of the Chicago 7, so I have seen him in there. That might be it. Oh, I guess he was in Don't Look Up as well, so I have seen him in that as well. I didn't see Bridge of Spies, I didn't see the BFG, I didn't see Dunkirk. Oh yeah, he was in Ready Player One, wasn't he? Yeah, so I've seen him in that as well. So I've seen him in probably like 3 things so far. I think he's a pretty good actor, so I was interested to watch this movie, not only because he was in it, but because it had an interesting plot. Watching the trailer, it's like, oh yeah, this is probably based on a true story. This seems like one of those things that would be based on a true story. And it definitely is. But he was definitely an interesting guy, Maurice Flitcroft. He started off as a crane operator for a shipyard and then became one of the most prolific players in all of golf. Not because he was a good golf player, but because he was actually one of the worst. Basically, the story, and I'm not trying to like spoil the movie for you, but you can also look it up. Basically, the story is one day he saw golf on TV and he's like, I want to do that. So he fills out an application to be in the British, what is it called? The British Opens, which is like a big British golf tournament. And, one way or another, he ends up actually getting into the tournament and playing one of the worst games of golf ever. I won't lie to you, I don't know much about golf or really anything about golf. My sports knowledge is not great, but, you don't need to know golf to really watch this movie. I think it's the perfect plot for anybody who's interested to see this actor, but also doesn't know enough about golf, or just saw the trailers and was like, that looks like a kind of fun movie. Like, you don't need to have golf knowledge to watch this, because the main character of the movie doesn't really have much golf knowledge either. Anything he figures out from books, or, pretty much just books, yeah. And, books and practice and experience. And he's a really inspiring dude, that's for sure. Like, he tells all his kids, like, you can really do anything you set your mind to. And, he kind of got that from him being as a kid, being told, you can be whatever you want to be. And, yeah, he's a really inspirational dude. So I think that's why a lot of people really clung on to him and were inspired by him. And they even made a league. Not a league really, but like a tournament named after him, in honor of him and the way he plays and just the person that he is. And then people who maybe aren't as good at golf can come and play this tournament. It's like all inclusive pretty much, which is great. And also it was in Grand Rapids in Michigan, so I thought that was cool. For those of you who don't know, I live in Michigan. Grand Rapids is a ways away, but yeah, I mean, I've been there a few times, so it's kind of cool to know that something like that happened in my home state. But, yeah, let me see here. I do have some notes written down, and let me give you the other cast members real quick. We have Sally Hawkins as Jean Flitcroft, the wife of Maurice in this film. We also have Jake Davies as Michael Flitcroft. Not actually his, flesh and blood son, but he took him in after he met Jean. We also have Christian Lees and Jonah Lees, twins, as the twins in the movie. We got Jean and James Flitcroft. And, you also have, like, Nigel Betts as Tony Marsh, Johan Myers as Willie, Mark Lewis Jones as Cliff. There's other characters in there, but the main characters of this movie are the family members. And that kind of brings me to my point of saying, like, this isn't as much a golf movie as it is, like, a movie about family. It maybe not necessarily like, I don't think kids are gonna like this movie, so it's not really like a family movie, but it's a movie about family. And there's definitely moments in here that had me emotional and stuff like that, especially towards the end. Jake Davies as Michael Flitcroft, that son, is a little embarrassed of the things that his dad's doing, and he's worried that it'll ruin his own career. Um, but in typical family or movies about family, in a typical fashion of that, like, he comes around, obviously. But yeah, there's definitely moments in here that had me emotional, but there's a lot of moments in here that made me laugh too. And then there's other times where I was just like, I'm a little bored, but I was never like, falling asleep in my seat or wishing I was watching another movie. Um, I had fun with it overall. It's refreshing to watch these kinds of movies that don't have like huge stakes to them and don't have all these fantastical elements like superheroes and wizards and ghosts and demons and all that kind of stuff. It's cool to take a break and take a breather and watch something like this that's, a personal story that isn't necessarily sad. Like, it's a pretty happy story. He has his low moments, but things always work out for him for the most part, and it's just that attitude that he has, which, man, I don't know if this guy is alive still. I don't think he is. But if I had met this guy, like, man, just his personality, just his energy, like, he's such a positive dude. And I think Mark Rylance did a really good job of portraying him, even though I'm not familiar with him, like, just kind of from the clips that they show. Because, like, in a lot of these movies that are based on a true story, they show clips of the real person at the end. And he definitely seemed to have a lot of his mannerisms down and, had his kindness and his positivity down. So I think Mark Rylance definitely did a good job. Is this a movie he's going to get an award for? No, probably not. I think this movie is going to be swept under the radar a lot, which is partially why I'm reviewing it, because the last movie that I reviewed that honestly nobody probably watched was Family Camp, and that video did pretty well. So I was like, I might as well watch this. I have the day off for a Wednesday. Like, that's not pretty typical for me. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do with my day off? I guess I'm gonna go watch this movie. And I'm happy I did for the most part. It's not groundbreaking by any means. It's not going to be on my top 10 best movies of this year. It's not going to be on my top 10 worst. It's just kind of in that in between area. Well, maybe not in between. I like it for the most part, but am I going to rewatch this? Probably not. So yeah, I think overall I'm going to give the Phantom of the Open, we'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. There's a lot that I enjoyed about it, but when it comes to these simple plots, there's only so much you can really do. Some things that I really found funny about this guy, the first time he went to the British Open, he did horribly, and he was never really invited back. And also, he got excluded from like pretty much any golf club in America, or not America, but in London, in the UK, because that's where this takes place mostly. And that was really tough for him, but like, he still kept going for the most part. There were times where he wanted to quit and times where he even did quit for a while, but there's things that he did that I thought were really funny. He actually entered, I believe it was the British Open. I believe he entered like maybe 5 or 6 times. And one of them was as him in the beginning, but other times he actually entered as different people and wore disguises and stuff and had funny names. Like, I think one of them was Arnold Palmtree, which I thought was hilarious. And, for a while there, they were like, oh no, we don't want this guy doing this. He's a joke, he's going to make a mockery of our tournament and our sport. But after a while, they're like, that's just Maurice, man. So people really came to love him and respect him and be inspired by him. So, one of the lines he has in here, I won't be able to quote it word for word, but he says something like, even though I'm not the best player, if I can inspire somebody, that makes it all, all worth it in the end. And that's definitely what he did. But overall, pretty great movie, or maybe not pretty great, but pretty good movie. Nothing to write home about, but if you have some time and you were thinking of checking the movie out, I would definitely give it a watch. I think it was a pretty good time. And plus, it's not an overly long movie, which That cannot be said for many movies nowadays. So it's both refreshing to have a movie be kind of like a normal movie and not have all these fantastical elements. But it's another thing to, have them have a decent runtime and not make you sit in the theater for over 2 hours. So I'll give it those two things for sure. But yeah, that's all I have for The Phantom of the Open. Have you guys seen it? What did you think? Comment down below and tell me what you thought of the movie, or tell me if you're planning on going to watch it or not. Um, Give me some facts about Maurice Flitcroft if you have any, possibly. That'd be cool. I love history, so learning about anything that pretty much took place before, 90s before, I find pretty interesting. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Leave a like on the video and subscribe. I will see you in the next one with my review for Minions: The Rise of Gru, which, oh, you already know, I'm super excited for that one. So yeah, see you later.